Welcome back to Elevation 44. It's your girl B, or Elevation as some people like to call me. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back, family. So today we are continuing our retrograde series, and we're going to be diving all into the Uranus retrograde. Now Uranus is going to station to start its retrograde cycle on August 19th, okay? So that is just a few days away, and so that's why I wanted to bring you this information. Now, if you have been following the retrograde series, thank you so much for following the entire series and making it this far. And if you are new to the channel and you are new to this whole retrograde terminology and just information, I do highly advise that you go back and look at some of the other videos I have in the retrograde series, as it will better inform you and give you a good idea of like what a retrograde is and kind of the themes that come up throughout the retrograde, even though every planet brings its own different or unique qualities with a retrograde. It kind of gives you an idea of what to expect during retrogrades. I will touch on it a little bit in this video, but it is always nice to have that knowledge of like kind of a comprehensive view of everything, okay? So please, if you can, go back and watch those videos. I will put the link down below on where you can access it, okay? So Uranus, let's talk about the planet Uranus a little bit. And some people say Uranus, some people say Uranus. I say Uranus, and sometimes I use them interchangeably, but Uranus is known as the Great Awakener, and Uranus comes to give us like flashes of insight, revelation, intuition. It's like those high level downloads that come from the cosmos. It comes unexpectedly like a bolt of lightning. You just kind of like, aha, you have those aha moments with Uranus's, downloads or information. Uranus is really all about, just pushing forward. It's about, blazing the path forward. It's about the future. So this is why Uranus is a lot of times linked to technology. It's linked to space travel. It's linked to all things like futuristic. So Uranus definitely encompasses a lot of those qualities just because it's so far ahead. Again, it's like way out into the cosmos. It's just way ahead of what we can even conceptualize here on Earth or in our physical reality at the time. So that's why Uranus's energy is so important. Another reason why I would say that Uranus is super important, besides being the Great Awakener and kind of awakening yourself to these higher levels of consciousness and higher levels of self-awareness, it is also known as the planet of change, okay? So not only does it come and give you these abrupt downloads and information to, give you things to advance the collective, but it also brings in change that pushes you out of that comfort zone, because we are, humans are creatures of comfort and habits, and we don't necessarily seek out change on our own a lot of the time. We need to be pushed, pushed off that cliff, pushed in a direction, or we don't move or we don't progress. And it brings that change, and a lot of the times it's that push, it's that shove, okay? It's that shove out of the plane that you weren't ready for but was necessary. And so this is a lot of times tied to the energy of being anxious, being fearful of Uranus's energy at times, and just being overall irritated because it does bring in discomfort, and discomfort is not comfortable, right? So Uranus can also just be very triggering in those ways. It is the planet of rebellion because it really chooses freedom, to be different, to march to the beat of its own drum, to be free, okay? And even in looking at Uranus physically, it's the only planet in our solar system that appears to be tilted or orbits on its side, right? Uranus is a generational planet. And when I say generational planet, it's an outer planet, and the outer planets of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto take longer to cycle around the sun. And that's why they're called outer planets, because they have such a long trajectory or a long orbit around the sun they are said to have more of a generational impact than an individual impact. Uranus takes about 7 years to, go through one zodiac sign. So it doesn't necessarily have a full generational impact, more as a half generational impact. So for me personally, I think Uranus is very important to look at on a generational standpoint and on an individual standpoint, okay? So I just wanted to leave you with that. And then it also retrogrades for 5 months. And if you are new again to retrograde and retrograde terminology, retrograde is just when a planet appears to start moving backwards or going backwards in its steps. And that is literally just a vantage point here on Earth. It appears to be moving backwards, but more energetically, it speaks to a redirection of energy. And usually that energy is directed more inward than it is externally projecting. Okay, so a lot of the times it's kind of like, a lot of internal work that is happening. But Uranus again brings that unexpected change. It brings events and things that happen even on an external level to trigger those internal changes, and those internal changes will then later lead to external changes. So I hope you follow that. Right now, Uranus is moving through Taurus. And even though we're going to talk about Uranus moving through Taurus, the rest of this video is about Uranus retrograde in the houses, okay? So that you understand the individual impact it has for you when it's moving or transiting through one of your houses. So this information is timeless information. We're going to talk a little bit about Uranus and Taurus, but that's just a little snippet. So always come back to this video no matter when Uranus is retrograding, because it happens every year for 5 months. So always come back to this video so that you can see, again, what is the thread or the lessons or the things that are going to be coming up for you. But when Uranus is in Taurus specifically, Uranus is really all about challenging and shaking up our security, because Taurus is it's focused on security, comfort, okay, and that type of thing. So it's really shaking up the things that we value, our self-worth. It's also shaking up our resources, because Taurus is literally the equivalent of the material plane and earth energy, all right? So this is usually indicative of changes that are happening or advancement that is happening on earth. So anything to do with our material or tangible resources, from things like lumber to oil to gold or metals, to also money. Money changes usually under this. You also have different fluctuations with food or crops. You have fluctuations in the weather patterns where there are extremities, right? So there is the extremeness of Uranus that comes in, because it's all about, again, that unpredictability. It's all about that unexpected change. So there's a lot of extremes and extreme events and extreme things happening, not only to us personally, but also to the earth when it's in the sign of Taurus, okay? Let's go ahead and talk about what it means when Uranus is retrograding through the houses. What does that personal impact mean for you? The lessons, the things that might pop up here for you during this time. I will also say that, if you have any planets in that house, you want to go on ahead and pay attention to those planets, because they can give you additional insight or further insight to some of the things that you can expect in terms of events, themes, things that are going to be triggering during this time as well. So just go ahead and make sure that you're paying attention to the planets in that house as well, especially if they're really, really close to Uranus, or Uranus is crossing over them during its retrograde transit, okay? So definitely want to be keeping that in mind. Okay, so let's go on ahead and dive right in. So let's get into Uranus retrograde in the first house. Okay, so the first house is the house of self. It's about our identity. It's how about we integrate ourselves into the world, how we come into self-awareness, right? What do we want? Where are we going? Our goals, how we move, our style, right? So when Uranus is retrograde in the first house, this is really about how we approach the world, our goals, our outlook, and how we likely identify. The changes in the image that you project is really kind of what is popping up at this time, okay? So this could be changes to your appearance, but also this is changes to your mindset about your own individuality, okay? So the things that you want are literally changing and just being pushed in a different direction when Uranus is in the first house. Your freedom of self-expression is very, very important, and embracing your uniqueness is really like the theme of this. So there are things that are going to happen to push you in the direction of your authentic self, okay? So when Uranus is in the second house, okay, second house is the house of your resources, money, your material possessions, also your values and everything like that. So when it's here in the second house, your sense of security is shaken up, okay? So events, things that happen are triggering your sense of security. It shifts your value system, the things that you find valuable. You become less materialistic. There's a push to become less materialistic and a shift in importance to other resources that you find valuable. You may be feeling more risky on investments, and you may have radical changes, or your mindset may change majorly around money. So those are the things to keep in mind when Uranus is retrograde in the second house. When Uranus is retrograde in the third house, this is really about changes to our lower mind functions, because this is the house of communication. This is a house of how we process our thoughts, our thinking, and how we then communicate that, and also how we learn, okay? So your thinking here undergoes major shifts, okay? So you may become getting more insightful. A lot of those aha moments, a lot of those revelations come during this time. You may be open to more things that you had previously shut off or walled yourself off from. You just really get things at this time. They just click, and it takes you into a place where you have a completely different stance on things, okay? It also can trigger the way that you communicate or express yourself individually. Now, when Uranus is retrograde in the fourth house, this is the house of home, family, your private life, and all of that, right? So there is revelations about your family or home life, and a sudden need for change in your physical home space or your home routine, or your private life routine, right? This is great from breaking from childhood or familial influences that held you back from personal freedom. So anything in your childhood or family life, or anything that has been limiting you and just basically restricting you in certain ways, whether that be mentally or physically, this is a nice time to work through those things, to break free from that. So a lot of events and things that will be triggering that type of thing. And also, again, changes in your home life, physical changes in your home life, that you get that feeling, you're like, I gotta go, I gotta move, I gotta change things up, okay? So when Uranus is a retrograde in the fifth house, which is all about your self-expression, your creativity, this is very similar to the third house in the terms that the way that you express yourself is changing as well, but this is a lot through creative expression, okay? So this gives you a chance to tap into the uniqueness of yourself and the power of your own creativity, okay? So this really is going to spark a lot of originality and just a lot of great creative ideas that come to you, okay? So this is going to be a highly creative period. So if Uranus is retrograding your fifth house, these 7 years that it is retrograding or it's spending in your in your fifth house, this is a really good time for you to work on those creative projects and get things out and just give yourself that creative platform that you need, right? Uranus retrograde in the sixth house. This really shakes up your day-to-day routines. So things will come in and just completely throw your routines off. But a lot of the times, like I said, again, Uranus is about progressing us forward. It's change so that more or better things can come about, okay? So this will change your views on work, your work environment, and your health. You may find yourself wanting more freedom and moving towards unconventional jobs or routines or even health regimens, okay? You may want to just march to the beat of your own drum. This is a time where you may not feel like you want to be restricted or locked into a certain box or locked into a certain routine. You just want to have the freedom to just do whatever you need to do, okay? And to thrive in that way. You may become easily bored or irritated with typical routine. So this is a very interesting transit when Uranus is in the 6th house, okay? Now Uranus in the 7th house is tough. This is tough because the 7th house is all about our relationships, our personal relationships, whether they be business or just close relationships with like a spouse or something like that. So this really then shakes up, your closest relationships, and events and things that trigger that can be very uncomfortable, okay? So it will change your views on partnerships, but also friendships as well. You may find your current relationships limiting and again want to break free. Anything that is restricting you or limiting you in any way, again, then triggers a sense of rebelliousness where you are definitely wanting to just kind of, I'm out, right? So separations, divorces, and anything that is restricting your relationships is basically tossed out or activated during this time. This is where you are also likely to be open to unconventional setups of relationships. So, a lot of times in society, we've been told that, this is a traditional structure of a relationship and people believe certain things, and sometimes you may want to step outside of that and try something unconventional and new. All right, so Uranus retrograde in the 8th house, okay? This 8th house is the mysterious house, right? It is one of the mysterious houses. It's linked to kind of like the subconscious mind. It's linked to a lot of things with, debt, taxes, death, rebirth, transformation. It's a lot of things unseen, a lot of things psychological, and it also has to deal with, your shared resources, other people's money, the things that you build together, right? So here, it can trigger events that change your financial situation. This is regards to debt and shared income, okay? So there is possibly with this an income shift, whether with yourself or your partner, that is shifting a change in responsibility of how things have always been done or handled with your shared resources. This can also change your views on pleasure because the 8th house is also, again, about sex, death, rebirth, and all of that thing. So your views on pleasure and overall intimacy, sexual sexual experimentation, that's what I want to say, is definitely something that can be brought up during this time, because there is a need for excitement, because Uranus is all about that new thing that, let's try something new, let's go on to something new, let's progress, let's get out of the old way norms, of doing things, let's go on a original or unique path. So experimentation is definitely high, okay? Uranus in the 9th house, Uranus retrograde in the 9th house, stimulates your higher mind. So the 3rd house stimulates your lower mind, brings those aha moments in the lower realm, but then the higher realm, the higher active of your mind is then sparked or triggered with this Uranus retrograde here. So new ways of thinking about how you approach life definitely come here. This is also thinking about maybe new religions, how you think about religion, how you think about, you just basically moving against traditional views, the things that we have been maybe programmed to think, or how our family has, instilled in us. This is a time where you can be breaking and seeing outside of all of that and seeing the different views of the world and different ways of doing things, or maybe blazing your own path. Okay, so this is gonna have you thinking a lot about just everything on how the world works. You can be also called to travel and have new experiences, because the 9th house is definitely about long distance travel or global experience. And you can expose yourself to different cultural, methods, experiences, and learnings, just so that you can have or broaden your understanding of everything on how the world works, okay? Now, Uranus retrograde in the 10th house, which is the house of your career and your public life, okay? So this is really calling or triggering a shift in your career path, all right? You can feel restricted in your career growth, and your current situation is just not cutting it, and it's just, that change is imminent, all right? So this is where you are likely to change things up, and you want to feel uninhibited, you want to feel free, you want to feel aligned or, you know, that you're being progressive in your career, right? And that you're doing things, or the way that you're spending your time is something that is ultimately benefiting a lot of people, or creating a benefit to, you know, more than just yourself, okay? This is a time where you can also discover your unique talents, which can also impact your public image. So your public image could definitely change or transform under this particular energy, okay? So Uranus in the 11th house. And the 11th house is, I think, one of my favorite houses because it's the house that houses our hopes, dreams, and wishes. It's like the manifestation point. I love this house because it's great for manifestation. I mean, it also is great because it focuses on community, which means our networks, our friend groups, you know, the way that we help society, or the way that we build our tribe. So, I mean, I like it just because of that manifestation piece, but this is definitely about bringing changes to your social life, because again, it's about that networking, or that, you know, our friend groups, that community aspect. It can change your views on your friends, your affiliations can be changing as you identify restrictions or new needs, okay? So if you're, again, feeling limited in those relationships with groups now, not with individuals, but with groups, this is a time where you are going to be likely rebelling and going in a different direction. You identify new things that you need, and you also find yourself being attracted to more free-spirited people, or authentic people who are on, you know, a path that you admire. Like, oh my gosh, this person is being completely authentically themselves. That's attractive to me, and I want to be more like that. So this is definitely, you know, triggering you to follow your own authentic direction. And you may be seeking groups that are more in alignment, or community that is more in alignment with where you are going, not where you currently are, but where you currently, or where you want to be, not currently want to be, but where you want to be, right? So this is definitely changing. Also your dreams and your goals can change under this, and the way that you manifest, or the things that you focus on manifesting, are changing under this energy as well. So that was Uranus retrograde in the 11th house. And finally, Uranus retrograde in 12th house, which is the other mysterious house, because again, this is all about the things that we cannot see. So this is definitely about your subconscious or your unconscious mind. It's about spirituality. It's about illusions and creativity and imagination. And these are all the themes of the 12th house, not 11th house, that it's all about the intangible things, the things that you can't touch, see, feel, or anything like that. It's just unknowing. It's just a deepness within, right? So this is all about helping you let go of your past habits, right? Because that's subconscious, or attachments. Unexpected events can expose secrets to your private life. So if you don't want anything coming out, this is probably not the time to be divulging any of your deepest, darkest information, okay? This is also about unveiling the hidden aspects of yourself. So you may find yourself a little bit nervous or anxious underneath this energy, just because it is dealing a lot with the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind, again, is not conscious. So these are the things that we're not actively thinking about or aware of. And when you have this disruption, or this energy that comes to just, you know, move things and make things uncomfortable in a certain way, subconsciously, you're not really processing it. It's a subconscious processing. This is a tongue twister, okay? It is a subconscious processing. And with that, you have nervousness and anxiety that can pop up, and you don't understand why you feel nervous or anxious. And it's because all of these subconscious changes are happening within you that you cannot identify. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, that is Uranus retrograde through the 12 houses. I hope that you are able to utilize this information in order to help you kind of see some of the things that may be popping up for you personally during this retrograde. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what house is Uranus retrograding for you this time. And again, I hope that in this whole video that you are focusing on transiting Uranus, because all the time I will see comments saying, yeah, my Uranus is in Sagittarius. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Uranus that is currently in the sign of Taurus, transiting Uranus, okay? The Uranus that is on the move, not the one that is locked in at the time of your birth. We're not talking about that one. So I will see you all in the next video. I hope you have a good one, and I hope this Uranus retrograde treats you very well. See you on the other side. Peace.